of apologies today. We've Mr Rogers, Mr Dallett, Mr Hussey and Mr Flanagan. Are members aware of any other apologies? No. Okay, members, the minutes of the last meeting of February the 25th. If members are content with the minutes, I'll sign them into the public record. Are members content?
Yep.
Okay, okay, members, agenda item 3 on correspondence. On page 8 of your electronic packs, we have received correspondence from Val McGovern regarding the NICS voluntary exit scheme. Members, this information is to note and forward on to the Committee of Finance and Personnel, as it is their responsibility for this scheme, and that's correspondence on page 8 on the voluntary exit scheme. Are members content that we forward that on to the relevant committee? Agreed.
Personnel, yeah.
Agreed. Okay, members, we also have correspondence from Mr Andrew Hamilton, who is Accounting Officer for the Department of Social Development, which is at page 4 of your confidential packs. You'll find that correspondence he's writing in response to the chairperson's letter of the 5th of March requesting additional information following on from our evidence session of the 18th of February. Due to the large volume of additional evidence being requested, Mr Hamilton is asking for the deadline for that response to be extended by 2 weeks. Are we agreed to allow that to happen because of the volume of information that we've requested? Agreed. Okay, members, moving on. At page 5 of your confidential packs, we have a letter from a whistleblower regarding the super councils. This correspondence is in relation to governance structures around the setting up of the new super councils. Are members content that we forward this correspondence to the local government auditor and indeed to the appropriate committee, which is the Environment Committee?
Agreed.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay. Okay, members.
Have we?
Yeah.
Have we any means of replying to the say that we've done that, or maybe they're saying
there's no. He's anonymous, or he or she.
There's no email address, but is there a means of telling everyone?
There's not an email address. There's an email address for you to respond.
There's a letter. It came in letter format.
Yeah, it just came as a hard copy letter. So
okay. If there was a means of replying, we should have kept them up.
But if there's no address on it, should we do anything? If there's no way to respond.
Well, all I can say is I used to be on the Environment Committee, and I'm aware of changes in the finances when that legislation went through 4 or 5 years ago, or some time ago, and there are important issues there which at least let the relevant committee look at again, see if they need to review anything.
I haven't put their name to it. It's just been noted.
No, it was just a letter and a hard copy addressed to myself, so there was no way.
They didn't put their name on it.
No.
It should just be noted.
Something that I appreciate that it's maybe somebody has their own personal axe to grind here, but a number of chief executives who have either appointed a new chief executive for the interim council or what was the shadow council at one stage, but they've appointed their new chief executive, and as a consequence some of them have been former chief executives of existing councils.
Without going into too much details, going from memory, for instance, councils have been given the ability to borrow, but one of the issues that has to be done is there has to be an independent statement that it is prudent, the borrowing. So there has to be an annual statement that this is prudent, and it needs to be from a qualified person. And there's a danger unless there is that assessment. I think at the very least the relevant committee should take a look at that aspect of it. It's not mentioning any particular names or anything, but there's a degree of financial prudence which I think should be at least examined by the relevant committee.
Well, I'm aware of some that have actually had a step up to a position where they're now acting as chief. They aren't acting, they are chief executive, and as such they will be retiring as chief executive, even though they were never.
Maybe the financial scrutiny rule is actually meant to be a separate function from memory here, and is equally important.
He's also CC'd this letter to the appropriate minister, so it's the Minister of Environment. So. Okay, members, are we agreed to forward it on, or just to note? As he has forwarded on to the DOE Minister also,
I would propose it forward to the committee
to the committee.
as well. Yeah.
Can we get an agreement on that? Yeah. Okay. And the local government auditor. Yeah.
Fine. Yep.
Okay. Okay, members, thank you. We have no matters arising today. So agenda item 5. You'll find correspondence from the Department of Justice, members, on page 11. This takes the form of their annual response to the PAC on their progress on implementing the recommendations contained within the PAC report on managing criminal legal aid, which was published back in November 2011. Kieran, you're very welcome to today's meeting, you and your team. Kieran, do you wish to make any comment on the correspondence?
Yes, quite a detailed response on each of the committee's recommendations. This is a very important area of public expenditure. I think your report was on criminal legal aid. There's also, of course, civil legal aid. We're proposing to do follow-up exercise later this year. So we'll be back on this topic in due course. It's a huge budget. Well, there's a lot of process actions there. I think the bottom line is what's the impact on the costs. The cost of criminal legal aid has come down, but civil has gone up. So I think it'll be opportune for us to have a fresh look at it.
Okay, members, do members have any comments they want to make in relation to the correspondence from the Department of Justice, or intend to note? Agreed to note? Okay, members, moving on. Agenda item 6, which is at page 14 of your packs. You will find the MOR to our report on the future impact of borrowing and private finance commitments on the Belfast Met and Titanic Quarter PPP. Members, as you will note from this response, that all 9 recommendations has been accepted, and 2 of these recommendations have been implemented. Another one of the recommendations is in the process of being implemented, so it's a very positive response. Kieran, do you want to make any comments on the MORs?
Just to welcome the positive response to the recommendations. No, nothing really to add to that. It is a fulsome response.
Okay, members, do you have any comments to make? No. Members, as we're content to note the MORs, and it is customary that we request an update in 12 months' time on the implementation of the recommendations. Are we content to do that? Yes, agreed. Okay, members, moving on. Agenda item 7, which is our inquiry into the cross-border broadband initiative ITEL project. Today we're going to get a briefing from the auditor and his team. Members, committee staff are given copies. We already have those. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Kieran, do you want to? I know last week we had a very good joint meeting with the PAC from Leinster House, and I know you just want to go over some of the detail of that from last week, and we will do our briefing session and then move into our preparation session. And I'm just conscious that maybe some members have to leave early today, so Kieran, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think it would be helpful just to give a very brief overview of the main issue, just to recap last week, particularly for the benefit of any members that were not there, and then we'll go deeper into the issues and cover some material that we didn't touch on last week. So, just to recap, ITEL is an IT company. delivered the project funded under the EU Interreg 3 programme. The Special EU Programmes Body was responsible for the delivery of the Interreg programme, and it in turn appointed the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Investment, DETI, and the Department of Communications, Environment and Natural Resources in the Republic as joint implementing agencies. Funding of €4.3 million was allocated to the scheme against costs that were originally predicted of €12.4 million. The grant was paid in full. So the key areas of concern were around project appraisal, number one. Number two, checking and authorisation of grant claims. And I think that was quite poor. And the third main area was there were investigations into allegations received, whistleblowing allegations going as far back as 2006, and those were deficient in many ways. The project was withdrawn from the Interreg programme, and as a result, DETI and DCNR had to pick up the tab, so the EU funding was lost. There was also an opportunity to retrieve the grant when the assets were sold on in September 2009. That didn't happen either. That's it. Just the bones of the.
Okay, thank you, Ciarán. We'll move into close now before members agreed to go into closed session for further briefing.
Agreed.
This is the